Oh man. Ooh, geez, trying to survive this post-apocalyptic wasteland is no joke. Ooh, luckily I found this office chair. Oh, look at that. It's a half-drunk bottle of wine in a Hobby Lobby bag. This day is looking up. Ooh, man. Well, I catch my breath. Perfect time to talk about a little movie called Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, what a better use of my time than talk about the fourth or fifth sequel in a long-running, long-winded franchise. Man, based on memory, because, man, we haven't had access to Blu-ray players, DVD players, or even VHS cassettes in 5 years at least. Man. Anyway, I'll do the best I can as I sit here and collect my thoughts on the 1972 sequel to the beloved Planet of the Apes franchise. You know, before our Marvel Universe and DC Universe, and even before Star Wars, the hottest thing going was Planet of the Apes.
I should. I just spent the weekend in Palm Springs. I was working on my tan.
There was toys, there were lunchboxes, TV shows, cartoons, you name it.
Jeff.
Jeff? Bill? Nova.
Yeah, so Apes was a big thing. And by the time Conquest came out in 1972, they were really riding a wave of the franchise's popularity. The Fox, the studio that was running things, they kept giving them progressively less money to pull off competent sequels. And it shows, especially when we get to this point. They were operating with a budget of under $2 million. They gave them only $1.7 million to pull off a large-scale, bloody ape revolution. And damn it, did J. Lee Thompson deliver with the limited budget that he was given. You might recognize that J. Lee Thompson, the director, was a staple in canon movies, directed Firewalker amongst many others. But he has a knack for action and did the best he could with the budget he was given.
Fire!
They set up shop in Fox's former backlot studio, which they turned into Century City. And they also chose a location out in University of California, Irvine, which was recently built, which features a lot of cool kind of brutalist architecture with a lot of cement, a lot of columns, a lot of angles, especially. And they use these locations almost exclusively. There's some interiors that were actually kind of interesting. You can see the influences in other movies, including Star Wars. This hallway, I mean, yeah, right there. But anyway, economy, it was the name of the game. So anyway, let's get into it. The previous breezy iteration of the Apes franchise had Cornelius and Zira going back in time for some reason into modern day U.S., and they were discovered, picked up. They learned that these apes could talk. They became instant celebrities, bounded about town. And of course, this posed a threat to the authorities, which led to their eventual murder, but not before having a child. And this child was picked up by Ricardo Montalban, who took pity on him and hid him away in his traveling circus. So that gets us up to Conquest. Now, in between that time, all the Earth's pets caught a disease, and they all died, all the kittens and puppies. I'm assuming gerbils were included in that too, or possibly box turtles. I really don't know the extent of the disease, but no one wants to box turtle as a pet. I mean, let's face it. So what do we replace them with? We replace them with apes. And lo and behold, apes can do more than snuggle and get pets and get fed. They can actually perform menial tasks, and why not use them as slave labor? I mean, it only makes sense. So they developed this authoritarian society in which the state has total control, has surveillance running 24/7, has police presence everywhere to keep people, and especially the apes, in line. And this is where we drop into the movie. Baby Cornelius sees what's going on, is not a fan. of the brutality. He's not used to that, which leads to where the action really kicks off.
Lousy human bastards!
Yeah, that's kind of a similar moment we had to the original series, kind of a callback moment there, which was great. They suspect that this ape is able to talk. Ricardo Montalban interjects, and he gets sent off to interrogation. Baby Cornelius escapes, and he goes underground and tries to reintegrate into this society, which is filled with brutal torture. A disco torture, which is probably the worst type of torture you can get. It's so groovy, it just drives you crazy. And he starts to, in his way, start to make plans to fight back. And that's where we get to the third act. The third act is dedicated totally to underground ape revolution, into open warfare in the streets. It's got a body count of 59. Apes and humans. Yeah, just brutal street warfare, firing squads going off, just blood in the streets. Again, rated PG. Like I mentioned, the Apes franchise was a big deal. It caught on with families especially. These were all considered to be G-rated movies up until this point. But given all that was going on in society at the time and our culture, think about it, this is 1972. We had the Kent State shooting happen. We have the Nixon years going on. We have anti-war protests in the streets. We have the 68 riots. We have the Democratic Convention in Chicago that popped off. We have all this stuff going on. And the time of the 60s, that time period was over. It went dark. This sequel is the darkest of them all, and that was kind of reflective of the times. And it's also reflective in the filmmaking style. Also, it's a budget-saving measure too, but the way J. Lee Thompson shot this, he used a lot of handheld, especially during the action scenes. A lot of wide shots here, so a lot of close-ups, bumpy camera movements, but again, it was for a point, and it was also practical. This is a good way to hide also the lackluster ape makeup. There might have been 2 or 3 decent ape costumes and makeup in the production, and the rest of them were those cheap rubber masks. With the camera movements and the panning and the rough kind of camera work, he was able to kind of hide that and focus in on the characters with the good makeup. Also, the way he used the angular landscape to hide numbers and to reuse certain locations.
Ready.
The way he used lighting, very high contrast, using a lot of the angles and the buildings to kind of reflect light and also to bring in cross lighting techniques at night. All added to the feel of kind of a cold, authoritarian place while obviously saving money. So good on him for that.
The king is dead. Long live the king!
Keep in mind, this could have gone a lot darker. In fact, the original cut of the movie has a very different ending, and it's where the Fox execs finally had to put their foot down and say, no, we still want to keep this PG, and we don't want to piss off the audience too much. Well, the ending that was shot has a modicum of hope at the end, despite everything that had gone on before. It ended with Caesar sparing the lives of the evil Governor Breck and his associates. That wasn't the case in the original cut. The original cut had those apes beating them to bloody pulp. This didn't test well, and like I said, didn't fly with the executive at the time.
But I was not born human.
The African-American audience was very vocal. I mean, they'd get up and yell and scream and, all on the side of the apes. It was like revolution has come.
You can find the alternate ending on the Blu-ray release. What I recommend doing is playing that movie through to the last 10, 15 minutes or so, and then switch it over, menu out, switch over to the deleted scene, and play it from then on. Problem was, it was already all shot. The movie was completely done. And went to test and didn't test well, and they had to redo the ending. So what do? You bring Roddy McDowall back to say a few lines of dialogue and use some rough editing techniques to hide the fact of what he is saying, which led to this very awkward ending, and audiences and critics picked up on that and weren't pleased with the production value. Yeah, I got panned for that, and also the obvious budget issues. They did the best they could, but you can't hide certain elements of the filmmaking. Didn't do great with critics, but audiences, despite all the weaknesses, despite all the flaws, did well. It definitely made its budget back. It turned a healthy profit, and immediately set into motion the final chapter in the original Apes saga.
Once again, Fox was asking for the inevitable sequel.
Again, it's a great piece of low-budget filmmaking. It's almost a B movie. What they were able to do with so little, and really deliver on the themes and social and cultural messages. Obviously, you have the slavery angle, the civil rights issues that were going on, but also it picked up on labor issues in there, with apes substituting for the manual labor, the blue-collar jobs, so that was definitely going on. Also the surveillance state, which, all these themes are relevant still today, which makes this more endearing, I think, than any of the other sequels. If you haven't seen it in a while, you need to watch it again and put it in today's context as well.
Go! You go!
A more universal message of standing up to corruption, standing up to your oppressors. And the biggest highlight, and you'll see it throughout the film, is how they use no. So the power of no is a big deal. It's a running theme, and also plays well for today.
No! 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 No!
With so many people trying to tell you what to do, how to think, what you can and cannot say, sometimes the best answer to that is no. I will say those things. I will do those things. You can't stop me from thinking those things. So,
But you'll keep trying.
You, above everyone else, should understand. We cannot be free until we have power. How else can we achieve it?
yeah, so it gave rise to Caesar, which I forgot to mention. Yeah, baby Cornelius chooses his own name, and that name, of course, is Caesar.
The king.
You see this play out also in the rebooted trilogy. Rise of the Planet of the Apes would be the quasi-reboot of Conquest, which was very competent, directed by Matt Reeves. Kind of deals with similar issues, and it's also very action-forward, just like Conquest. Fortunately, it was rebooted and using people who cared about the material. The new rebooted trilogy is on par with the original Apes movies, and definitely recommend those two. Anyway, so that explosion sounded close. That really sounded close. Okay, I'm out. So check it later. Until next time, bye.